problem with the title is that based on the slate, it makes absolutely no sense. It's like they just called it Gods and Monsters to be cool, because I don't see anything about gods and monsters here. I don't see that kind of setup. I don't see them kind of trying to build anything. It's just, oh, wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be wicked cool if we called it Gods and Monsters? And you're like, it is kind of cool, but it would be even cooler if it meant something. Overall, this actually seems to me a lot like the animated movies. Let me bring up that graphic. Hold on. And that the animated movies were quite popular at one point, but they themselves have kind of lost focus. And I feel like that's kind of like the direction we're shifting in. Now, I want to say that the good news is that James Gunn clearly thinks like a DC fan. And I think there's going to be a portion of the DC fandom that is very happy. The bad news is, though, is that he still does not think like an executive. What makes me say that? Well, he's keeping his friends. Man, it's not 100% reboot. It's not. For me, I think that significantly undermines what he's doing here. But for some people, it won't. So who's he keeping? I saw when before we started, some of you were like, who is he keeping? I need clarification. Here it comes. So Viola Davis is sticking around from, the Peacemaker show, and she's getting her own show. Now, because she's getting her own show, even though it wasn't clarified, I believe this means that the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker are also both safe and will be living in this show and then potentially in other places. I'm surprised that's how Viola Davis looked on the Peacemaker show. That is cheap. She looked much cooler in the movies, but I specifically wanted to grab a screenshot from the show. So the Gunverse lives. The Gunverse lives. I have to tell you, I will watch the Amanda Waller. I'm going to watch all of this because I'm a DC fan and I'm certainly going to cover it. I hope it has enough of an audience for people to be interested in. But I love Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, but I wouldn't have kept her because you got to get rid of everybody, in my opinion, to make this truly seem like it's fresh and exciting and new. This, to me, I'll just say it right now. I'm going to say it a little bit at the end before we get to the details. I think this kind of just seems like what we're doing now, just with different leadership. It seems exactly like the same thing. I don't think it's any different. So, it's going to have ups and downs. Some of this stuff's going to hit. Some of it's not going to hit. You're not building anything. So, okay. All right. So anyway, this show is going to be run by Crystal Henry. I have her picture, from Watchmen. So that also makes me feel very good about this show. I loved Watchmen, although nobody watched Watchmen. Who watches the Watchmen? Nobody. And so that's a little bit concerning. And also Jeremy Carver, who worked on Doom Patrol, Umbrella Academy, and also is co-writing the new Mortal Kombat movie. So he's very in at Warner Brothers. I didn't have time to grab his picture because I just found out he was involved like 15 minutes ago. Now, who else is staying? This is the weird thing. So it looks like the other people who are staying are the people who showed up for the season finale of Peacemaker, and that's Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller. I'm sure Henry Cavill is like, I should have showed up. Yet again, a cameo undoes him. Henry Gal, Ray Fisher and Ben Affleck didn't show up for the end of Peacemaker, and it looks like, they're not sticking around. But it looks like Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller might actually stay, which is just absolutely incredible. So I think that partially they're doing this on also box office. I think box office will be crucial as to deciding the future of these characters, if they stick around, how these movies do. We're getting a Flash trailer at the Super Bowl. Now, let me tell you a little bit of Flash tea. I just found out, that in the Flash, they've stripped out, James Gunn has instructed them to strip out all of the teases at the end of the movie. Henry Cavill's been taken out. Gal Gadot's been taken out. Sasha Calle has been taken out. So that's why they're going with a different Supergirl. It's just going to be an else, Barry just runs between the universe, the multiverse, and everything's going to stay in the movie. I also heard that Michael Keaton was taken out at the end as well. So they're all out. It's just going to be Ezra Miller comes back to some other reality. So Ezra Miller is truly the Flash wild card that he is in the comics, that he can go wherever he wants. But they're not going to keep anything from that movie, at least in the main universe. It's just been, all the promises of that ending have been stripped out. I heard that they are filming a special cameo with a character from a long time ago in the DC world. So I think that's going to emphasize that Barry can go wherever he wants. But that's a really, really big deal. And I do believe because of that, Sasha Calle is not the Supergirl that they're discussing here. Because there is a Supergirl movie that they're making, which we're going to talk about. Then the other problem I have So I just, it's amazing. If Ezra Miller wins this, I mean, I think it would be very hard for them to get over that. I mean, that would have to be quite the apology tour for Ezra Miller. And also you'll notice no mention of Lobo. No mention of Lobo. They didn't talk about Lobo today. So I think they're going to see how Aquaman does. I think Jason Momoa was just thrilled that he wasn't fired, quite frankly, or that they decided to go in a different direction. He's still going with that, James Gunn. He still is saying, I didn't fire anybody. And you're like, you did. I believe Sabucio, I believe that Gal Gadot is not staying. Not that she couldn't come back in an Elseworld story. That's the thing. Once you have an Elseworld situation as they're building out here, you can bring anybody back. But they're not part of James Gunn's universe. He's going to have his own Wonder Woman. Just like he's going to have, hold on, here it comes, his own freaking Batman. I'm very against this. I'm very against having two Batman. So there's going to be the Batman Part 2, which will be an Elseworld story. They're doing Elseworlds material. So, okay, all right. So anything that's not part of James Gunn's core DCU will be branded Elseworlds. I really love Elseworlds comics. They've been some of my favorite as a comic book fan. I don't think that mainstream audiences can understand this. Now, Damian Wayne will be Robin. And I got to tell you, he's my favorite Robin too, as James Gunn said today. But you know what? I don't think you can skip Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. You just can't do it. I know that they'll probably be referenced and they probably will have happened somewhere in the past, but I don't think, the whole point of Damian Wayne is what a different Robin he is. So if you don't establish the original Robins, Damian Wayne doesn't make any sense. Also, Damian Wayne better be half Middle Eastern as an actor, as a casting choice. I'm going to be really upset if he isn't. So I'm all for skipping origin stories to some degree at this point, because who doesn't know these stories? But you can't skip that much. You can't skip Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, especially because Dick Grayson is such a big part of Damian Wayne's story. So that to me is very odd. Now, I will say overall that I feel that this is a very a la carte menu. That's one of my biggest issues with it. This is still not building anything, but they are building one thing. They are building Superman versus the Elite, but with the Authority, I hear, stepping in for the Elite. That's why they're doing an Authority movie, so that Superman in a follow-up film can fight the Elite. I don't really care to see that, quite frankly. The only thing that's interesting about bringing the Authority in is that they have a very famous LGBT couple, and that's Midnighter and Apollo. So Midnighter and Apollo will be in this James Gunn's world, but I also think it's going to be weird to have the Authority when you have Thunderbolts over at Marvel. You have the Suicide Squad, which are clearly sticking around. And then also, what about the boys? I think this is...
Who the hell want to see Superman fight the Authority, bro? He's going to level their ass. They're not a match. We all know. Like...
all competing with the boys, very much so. And I think you'd have a very hard time at this point topping the boys. It is very James Gunn. But that's what they...
Where's Lex Luthor, bro? Where's Lex Luthor? He fighting the authorities.
They want a Superman versus the Elite. But here's my thing, okay? I just want to see Superman fight his classic villains from the animated series and stuff. I don't understand.
Why is this woman so much ideal to me? Grace, can I marry you, man? Because I will. She just said the key point. These are Superman's villains. Why isn't he fighting these guys? He's gonna level the Authority or whatever. I don't get it.
Understand why? I'd rather see. If they said, "Oh, do you want to fight him fight the Authority?" I'd be like, "Well, now I actually would prefer to fight Jason Momoa as Lobo, because I don't want to see him fight the Authority, quite frankly." So that's something that they're planning. But that's what I would like to see. I would like to see him fight his original villains first. But I will say, now, is this doomed to failure? I wouldn't say that. I think a big crucial thing is going to be the casting and the talent behind the camera. He only confirmed that he's writing Superman right now. James Gunn only said he's working on Superman. There was no other talent confirmed in front of or behind the camera, except for the Amanda Waller people, which had already been announced a while ago. That is crucial. Absolutely crucial. I do think, again, that there will just be ups and downs. I think people will watch what they want to watch. No one's going to feel they have to watch everything. And that is problematic, quite frankly. I feel that's an issue. for going forward. I also feel that it will make it unable to operate at the level of Marvel. I think that because it's not all connected, it'll never have that same situation. I'll also say with all the Marvel content coming out, look, that's Marvel Phase 5. Where's DC fit in there? I think it's tough. I think it's going to be really, really tough. I think a lot of mainstream moviegoers who aren't hardcore comic book fans are already superheroed out, and I think it's going to be difficult for them to follow this as well. I think that'll just emphasize the a la carte aspect of this, with people just watching what they're interested in.
Yep.
I also say that I felt the presentation today was weak. I thought that, I'm glad there was a video, but I thought it was a surprisingly poor video. I think Warner Brothers Discovery must really have no money if that's the best they could do. I'd be like, who edited this? Some of these images aren't even full screen. Some of them have black bars on the side of that. What the heck is that? And then I also feel that James Gunn needs to work a little bit on his presentation skills. I think that, I guess he wanted to be a little bit serious because some people didn't get what they wanted, but I still feel that he has to work on his showmanship. It's a skill, and he's not, he's a director, he's a behind-the-scenes guy, that's fine, but he needs a little bit of work on it. It was not a great presentation. All right, does anybody have any questions about this overall stuff before we go into the specifics? We're going to break down each of the projects in just a moment. Think Noodle says, Grace, James' new Batman, Todd's Joker, and Matt's Batman, we're essentially going to have at least 3 Jokers and 3 Harleys. I agree. I think that it's just, and it's going to divide fandom. People are going to be like, who do you like better? The Batman who has the son Damian Wayne or Robert Pattinson's Batman? I didn't need to do that, Batman.
To be honest, I don't think that's a right move. If I was James Gunn, I would move forward with the Matt Reeves Batman universe. I just think that is the perfect universe to even start afresh, because you already have Batman, who is the movie was good, right? Just don't make it elsewhere. Make it the main universe. But no, he wants to have his own Batman. Just imagine if Iron Man, right? Different directors have their own version of Iron Man. This is why DC don't work.
Story. They have so many projects they announced today, they could have left, as I said before, a giant Batman-sized hole and just been like, as I told you, hey, Matt Reeves, you want to put your Batman in there? Cosmic says, Grace, thank you for all the coverage in T. I'll try my best to join every... thank you. That's very kind of you. And Stanlow says, I'm a hardcore DC fan. Current DC is a trash fire. And Arun says, Gunn confirmed that Henry was never hired and that was never a deal. That's right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And I still feel that it's ridiculous not to accept some culpability for that, quite frankly. And Sammy says, isn't this more of the same Frankenstein stuff for DC, but with Gunn's name on it instead of Hamada? I totally agree. Yep. I think Peter Safran is the new Walter Hamada, and I think James Gunn is the new Zack Snyder. It's exactly the same setup as you had before. They are not a Kevin Feige. They're not even trying to be a Kevin Feige. And I think they should have tried to be a little bit of a Kevin Feige. I think that's the whole reason that they were hired, to create that. And they didn't do that. And Terror, that's right. If you don't have, I guess that, Terror is saying, I feel bad there isn't going to be a Red Hood storyline. I guess if Damian Wayne exists, there is a Jason Todd in the past somewhere. But I think if you don't build that, I think that's a problem. And Millie Jo says, all I care about is Nightwing. Where is he? He's not going to be in this.
Oh, sorry, yo.
First lineup. Palm Tree says, I think if these projects are high quality, having a certain level of gravitas, that is correct spelling, it could work. I do think some of these will be good. I do. I honestly do. Thanks for joining, Silver Scale. Hey, Jordan. I think Blue Beetle will be safe if it performs well at the box office. Anish, I don't think Ben Barnes can be Batman because he has to be old enough to have a son that's Damian Wayne's age. And also Ben Barnes is just basically Robert Pattinson, right? And Shashank says, I think he's trying to mimic Kingdom Come with the Authority as the new heroes against Superman. That's very possible. But I'd rather he just did Kingdom Come. All right, I'll do a poll. I don't know. Ryan says, Grace, I remember when Gunn was going to announce, he said he wasn't going to let go of his people, and look what happened. Yeah, he's not going to let go of his people. And I think that that'll be difficult for him to get over. I think the favoritism is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. And I'm almost positive that Chris Pratt's going to be Booster Gold. I would be really surprised. I think the only reason you tell a Booster Gold story is so that you can bring Chris Pratt over to the DCEU. So yeah, I'll do a poll. I'll ask you what you think of this. What do you think? And then we'll go into the specifics. What do you think of Gunn's DC slate. Where the hell is Peter Safran? He was apparently at this event, but he didn't go on record. He's like, I don't want my name on this. He's like, I'm happy just collecting my paycheck here in the background. So love it.
I'll be happy too, man. Millions of dollars, man. Are you kidding me?
I'm open to it. Then, skeptical. I think I spelled that correctly. And then hate it. So you got 4 choices. There you go. You can vote in that poll. Zachary Levi is not staying, Frank. Let's see here. Jesse the Good Witch says, how much is Gunn and how much is Safran? I would suspect it's almost entirely Gunn. I think Safran just helps him organize it, to be honest with you. Sod says, I have a lot of mixed feelings. I hope he's phasing up to the DCU and we can stick to a linear DCU after that. I feel like he's slowly getting rid of everything. I don't think so. I think he's probably going to keep Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller, if I had to guess. Let's see. Let's see if Star movies are just total bombs. All right, let me break down the specific projects, and then you can ask me anything, and I'll definitely be covering all of your super chats and questions at that point, okay? All right, so let's get to the next project. Here we go. CF, we'd have no information on who any of the villains are, what these stories are going to be about, beyond what I'm about to share with you. All right? Let's get started. So the first thing is James Gunn's Superman movie, which has a release date. It's penciled in. That means it's not definitive, but they're aiming for July 11th, 2025. Why would you open a Superman movie a few days after the 4th of July? Well, that's because Disney has already reserved July 2nd, 2025. So this will be coming out. July 4th is on a Friday that year, so this will be coming out the Friday afterwards. I'm using, actually, Jeff Johns' covers because I like Gary Frank's artwork here. I want to go back to basics on Superman. That's crucial to me. But I do think, based on his presentation and what he's picked, James Gunn likes Grant Morrison, he likes Tom King, he likes that kind of writing. And I have to say, I think the appeal of that writing is limited. So I think that's also potentially going to affect the projects that he does, because I think he's picking things that are, also he's picking creators that are very male-centric in their appeal, and I wonder if he'll be able to create 4-quadrant projects with that situation. So yes, so the Superman Legacy movie comes out July 11th, 2025. All right? So far, only Gunn as the writer is announced. Then he's doing a Supergirl movie, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. And it is indeed, as he clarified today, based on the comic book by Tom King that came out last year. It was 8 issues. And I have to tell you, it was a great comic. Really, really great comic. However, this is a very expensive story. She is going from planet to planet, trying to help that young girl avenge the murder of her father. It's an incredible comic. It's incredible. I think it might be too early to tell the story. I don't really know if people are interested. I think the optics of getting rid of Sasha Calle for a blonde Supergirl could be problematic. And I just feel that I'm not sure about telling the story so early. Also, based on the story, I feel maybe it could have been a series. But I love this comic so much that I am excited about this. I am excited about this because I love the comic so much. So we'll see. But as I told you, because Sasha Calle isn't at the end of the Flash movie anymore, I don't believe that she will be this character. Then he announced his Batman movie, and it's called Batman Brave and the Bold. And Damian will be the Robin. As I said, I really want this to be a half Middle Eastern, if not entirely Middle Eastern casting choice for Damian. I think if you're going to do Damian Wayne, you got to do Damian Wayne right. And the Al Ghuls are from the Middle East. So that to me is very important. Damian Wayne is also my favorite Robin, so I am kind of excited about that. But I feel to skip right to him and have Batman having an assassin's son, I think mainstream audiences are going to be like, what the heck is this? So I think a big part of this will be who do they cast, who plays these characters, who writes it, who directs it. But also, I feel kind of bad because I feel kind of bad because I don't want Robert Pattinson to be undercut. Let me close this poll. I want to ask you another poll. The poll is, hold on. No Harley or Ivy just yet, although I have a slight theory on that. But of course, there's the Waller show. 37% are skeptical. You're all mid-range. That's good. None of you have judged it. 11% love it, 14% hate it. But for the most part, about 80% of you, a little under 80%, are in the middle. You're willing to give it a chance. I think so. That's good. So that's nice. The question I want to ask you though in the poll is, who's your favorite Robin? Because that to me will be very interesting. So we'll put Damian Wayne first because he's the one we're getting. Dick Grayson. I don't know how you can't start with Dick Grayson. It makes no sense to me. Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and then we will put Tim Drake in there because he particularly has a lot of fans now that he's an LGBT character. All right, so there it is. I'd like to know your favorite Robin, please. And I'll be curious to see if Damian Wayne, he'd have to win this poll for this to be a good idea. And I don't think he's going to win it. All right, so we'll continue as this goes on. We'll let that poll stay up while we continue. All right, next up, a Wonder Woman HBO Max show, which they say is going to take place almost entirely on Themyscira, and it will be like Game of Thrones. I mean, will it? Will it be like Game of Thrones? I mean, let's see. If they're going to do a Game of Thrones style Wonder Woman show on Themyscira, it better lean into the lesbian aspects of Themyscira. I don't see any reason not to do that. I think that reminds me a lot of George Perez's artwork, so that's why I included it there. You can see that's all Themyscira, and so that could be a very interesting show. It'll be basically like the last episode of The Last of Us, but with women on Themyscira in a tropical paradise. And I gotta tell you, that Last of Us episode did pretty darn well. It certainly got a lot of chatter online. I think it made Murray Bartlett and Nick Offerman even bigger stars than they already were. So this could work. This could work. So this isn't an Amazon's show. This is a new show. It's not the show that was in development. This is a totally different show that they came up with. Now, I do think that the only member of the Trinity who's a woman not getting a movie, while the other two guys do, it's not great. But maybe her show is better. Maybe we'll be like, you should have gotten a show. The show was amazing. So maybe that'll work out. But I think it's not great that Wonder Woman, I mean, let's see. It's a little bit weird. But it's gonna have to deal with the lesbian aspects. I mean, you can't tell this story today and not deal with that. And so I think that'll be interesting for that show and how fandom reacts to that. But again, I love having all these shows because it gives me tons of content to cover. We'll be doing weekly breakdowns. It's gonna be amazing. I'm excited. I think Diana is in the show, but it's going to be about Diana, growing up and, probably deciding to go to Man's World eventually. Maybe that's how it ends. Maybe that's how the first season ends, and then she jumps into a movie. Which I got to tell you is a pretty solid pitch, to be honest with you. And I heard this is not Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot, again, she could potentially be in an Elseworlds movie. She could potentially come into to play some other way, but I do not believe that this is going to be Gal Gadot. And I gotta tell you, I don't want it to be Gal Gadot. You can't have a new Superman and a new Batman and then Gal Gadot walk up and be like, how you guys doing? Also, I have to say, I don't think Gal Gadot is a good enough actress for a show, for an ongoing show. I think Wonder Woman 1984 really showed her liability as an actress. So I think they should get somebody else. All right, then, next up, speaking of shows, we got a Green Lantern show. We're getting a Green Lantern show. I hope they spend a lot of money on it because you can't do this if it's not expensive. This will be Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, as you can see. And they've been talking about a Green Lantern show for a very long time. Will it ever actually see the light of day? Green Lantern's light? I hope so. Let's see. I'm glad that Jon Stewart's on it, but I'm not looking forward to the arguments between Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart fans. This is like Splash Mountain versus the Tiana ride. It's a little frustrating. I hope that's not the case. I like Jon Stewart. Anyone who watched the Justice League animated series is a Jon Stewart fan. But if you're big into the Green Lantern comics, you prefer Hal Jordan. All right, so next then, talking about shows, we have the Amanda Waller show, which we just discussed. And then also we have Booster Gold will be a show. And I really do feel this will probably be Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt's doing a lot of TV these days. He's certainly not against it. I think it would work. I think he would be a good Booster Gold, to be honest with you. I mean, I think he is very much like the character. I mean, he basically is Booster Gold. Who's Booster Gold? James Gunn pitched it as an identity crisis for a superhero. I don't really think that's it. Booster Gold is kind of like a silly guy who's from the future, who's a super fan of the current characters, the current heroes. He has a little robot, Skeets, who follows him around. And he just does a lot of silly stuff. It's very comedic, very James Gunn, very Peacemaker. Let's see. I mean, let's see how it works. I wouldn't do a Booster Gold. I mean, these next things, after the Waller show, I actually wouldn't do these things. All right, so Booster Gold, and then they're going to do a Swamp Thing movie, which I think is a horrible idea. They already did a Swamp Thing show, and that was a really good show, actually. First, it was on DCU, DC Universe. Then it went over to the CW. Nobody watched it wherever they put it. And it was even good. I don't think this is a good idea. I mean, for some reason, DC fans try to make Swamp Thing work. Stop trying to make Swamp Thing work. Not popular. It's only popular with a very small group of people. Maybe you could put Poison Ivy on this show, and this movie, and then maybe people would watch it. That's the only way I can see it working, if it's an exploration of the green. But yeah, Swamp Thing is a movie. And then, again, let me go back and find that image. The Authority. Nope, that's not it. Yeah, The Authority. The Authority, and this is interesting, The Authority is going to be an animated movie. An animated movie. No, not animated. The Authority is not animated. I'm sorry, that's a mistake. The Authority is a live-action movie, again, leading into the Superman versus the Authority project, which is like Superman versus the Elite. And then they do have an animated project. Hold on, here it comes. Thanks, Matthew. That's very generous of you. Let's see here. And so they're doing a Creature Commandos animated movie. And then you can see Weasel in there, played, of course, by James Gunn's, I believe his brother, right, did the motion capture for that. So, again, if you're friends with Gunn, you get to stick around. And that's based on a comic book that's been around for a long time, actually. It's basically the League of Extraordinary. How is this not Suicide Squad, by the way? How do you have this team in the Suicide Squad? But anyway, Creature Commandos is animated. I heard it was a movie. That's what I heard. I'd be interested to see DC playing in the theatrical space with animation. I would like that. I don't know if I would like it with this. I think this is not a great project. This is basically a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with like classic monsters, but in World War II. It started out in World War II, but it's probably a new thing. It's like a hoorah version of it. I don't really know. So Variety said it was a series. Okay, so it's an animated series. Here's the thing. There was no reason. Why get rid of Doom Patrol and keep this? I guess maybe this is less expensive to make, but it seems to me like the exact same thing. Thank you, Christian. All right, let me close this poll, and then we'll do Ask Me Anything. So those are my initial thoughts on this. End poll, no question about it. Dick Grayson won by a landslide. 56%. 23% of you voted for Damian Wayne. I hope you all do love Damian Wayne that much, and you're just not swayed by the fact he's going to be the DCU's Robin. But that's nice to see. It warms my heart as a Damian Wayne fan. But yeah, Dick Grayson is the most popular. You can't have the fact that the first movie Robin, like legit, not what was that guy's name? Chris O'Donnell. Not Chris O'Donnell, but that wouldn't be Dick Grayson. And when it instead be Damian Wayne, that just as a DC fan seems insane to me. All right, so it's the Ask Me Anything portion of this. I can stay on for a good 10 to 15 minutes here. Ali says the next Superman and Batman movies come out in the same year and they are not connected. That's bad. I don't think I want to see The Brave and the Bold since Pattinson would not be Batman there. Never say never. You'll have to see who's cast, but I do think it's very odd. Let's see here. Hold on. Make sure I don't miss anything. Brian says, I was really hyped, but that presentation looked cheap. I wonder if they actually have the funds to do this right. I was hoping for more. Who do you see as the new Supergirl? Emma Stone would kind of be a cool choice for that Supergirl. They have to pick someone who's not going to vogue. That Supergirl is very down to earth. She has a lot of personal trauma. It's very, very important that they get that casting right. And you know what? I really liked James Gunn's casting of Daniela Melchior in the Suicide Squad as Ratcatcher. So if he could cast her, maybe he could cast this correctly. But I'm not totally confident. Paul says, is Michael Keaton in The Flash at all? Yes, Michael Keaton is definitely still in The Flash, but it's no longer a situation where they change the current DC main world where now he's in it. I think he's going to stay in whatever universe Ezra Miller visits. Middle Kid says, did I miss the Flash tea? I'll tell it to you again, just to reiterate. The Flash now ends with no teases for anyone sticking around. They got rid of Henry, they got rid of Gal Gadot, they got rid of Michael Keaton, they got rid of Sasha Calle. It's just Ezra Miller coming to a different timeline. And they have a different fun cameo that is going to be filmed there. But, you know, it's really more about just emphasizing that Ezra Miller took a trip to a different multiverse, and that's not what James Gunn is building. Babette says, do you think Margot Robbie will return? I almost guarantee that she will return. I think that he didn't announce it today because he didn't want people to get upset. And I think Margot Robbie's busy. I think she will return. I think that the Waller show is the back door to keeping the Gunverse. That keeps the Gunverse alive. Stephen Turner says, I hope they make the Amazons more diverse than Patty's film. I think they will for sure. I wonder if it will be how it will be able to feel exciting after Marvel does. You know, Stephen, they're not only doing a Dora Milaje show, but don't forget that Dune is still doing their show about all those women priestesses. So that's 2 all-women shows on HBO Max. That seems weird to me. Kate says, apparently Gunn said the Waller show is set between season 1 and 2 of, where'd that go? Hold on. Where'd it go? Sometimes this stuff skips ahead. Kate says, apparently Gunn said the Waller show is set between season 1 and season 2 of Peacemaker. Does that mean Peacemaker season 2 is still happening? I think that James Gunn is really busy, and so that's why they put a pin in Peacemaker season 2. Let's see how it all shakes out. Let's see if he's directing Superman. So I think they're just going to focus on Waller for now. But I think that they're not going to not make Peacemaker 2. I think they just haven't decided. Raphael says, I'm so worried about Gunn handling Midnighter and Apollo because I'm scared he will push the edgy part. I would be concerned about that as well. I think I would be very concerned about that. And I hope that, you know, they have enough time to do their story right, considering it's a movie and a very big team. Cosmic says they should have utilized the stagecraft stage for the presentation. I felt like it was entering a classroom. Yeah, it was like not a good presentation. I felt that, thanks W. I feel that presentation needed, I think that presentation could have easily been improved. Easily been improved. They can't be that broke at Warner Brothers Discovery. Maybe they thought it was charming. I don't know. The one and only says, Grace, what do you think of Netflix leasing Snyderverse? Is that, no. I don't think they will ever lease the Snyderverse to anyone else because they just can't dilute themselves like that. And I don't think Netflix would want it, quite frankly. And they would have to be such an astronomical fee. It's just not worth the headache. Anthony says there's no goal here. It's all over the place. Yes, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. I think it's definitely all over the place. I think, again, it's an a la carte menu. I think that they are still catering to talent and what interests talent, including James Gunn. James Gunn, I think, still thinks of himself as a DC fan and talent. He doesn't think of himself as an executive, and that's going to always be a problem for this franchise. Let's see here. Sean says, thoughts on the Batman Part 2 title release date? Somebody said it was 2025. What was the release date? I didn't see the Batman release date. Can someone just fill? I'm not caught up in the chat. Oh, October. Well, that's when the first one came out. October 2025. That's fine with me. I do think it's weird to have 2 Superman and Batman come out the same year and they're not related. I really am curious to see if they can educate mainstream audiences on Elseworlds, what an Elseworlds story is. I tried to tell some people last night that I know about the DC slate who aren't DC fans, and their eyes just glazed over. I was like, let me tell you what James Gunn is doing. And they're like not big DC fans. They don't go, comic book fans, they don't even see every Marvel movie anymore. And I was like, all right, you ready? And they were like, this is so much. And it just was like just a cloud to them. So I think that's kind of the problem there. Who said that? Splendorous? Millie Alcock as Supergirl is a pretty good idea, actually. She would be a good choice. Stephen Turner says, how will Warner Brothers afford to make these films if they are so broke and can't afford to release the films they already have? Well, let me tell you about film financing. They don't have to pay for these films directly. They do have money that they're supposed to have. But what will happen is that they will reach out to a film finance company, like Legendary used to be. And Brett Ratner was running the Rat Pack. Brett Ratner, that's how Kevin Tsujihara got in trouble, because the reason that Brett Ratner got the deal is that he provided favors for Kevin Tsujihara of the inappropriate nature. That's how he secured the financing deal. But Warner Brothers will probably reach out to a film financier company and get them to underwrite the DC movies. I don't know how much they can get, but that's kind of how it works as well. But, you know, it is concerning. Maximilian says, do you think we could see the Harley and Ivy relationship in live action? You know, I think where you're going to see Harley and Ivy next is you're going to see Harley Quinn in The Joker 2, played by Lady Gaga. I believe they're probably going to have them in the Arkham Asylum show that Matt Reeves is doing, which of course wasn't announced here. They didn't talk about the Penguin show, which is about to start filming. And they didn't talk, I mean, wouldn't it be horrible? Wouldn't it be horrible if the Reeves verse made everybody be like, this is the good stuff? And then the thing that's the Gunn verse, which is bigger, everybody was like, I don't like that. I mean, that would be really weird. And I can see that definitely happening. Jacob says, James stared into the darkness and he blinked. I agree. I feel if he had done a 100% reboot and gotten rid of everybody, even the popular characters, I think that would have bought him such tremendous goodwill from fans that would have been just absolutely incredible for him. But he didn't do it. His friends were more important to him, and they can console him when this maybe blows up in his face. Stanlow says, is the Big Seven the only league for the movies? I think that they're not building a Justice League right now. I mean, if you're talking about Superman fighting the Authority in a future film, when does the Justice League show up? Wonder Woman, it's going to take her a whole season of television even get to Man's World. So I feel like you're far away from a Justice League for the moment now. Maud said, Gunn said the same actors will play the live action and animated parts. What does this say about Kaylee Cuoco and the Harley Quinn animated series? That's a very interesting question. You know, we'll see if that continues. We'll see if that's an exception. But that does not make any sense. But I mean, he says a lot of stuff. Remember, pay attention not to what they say, but what they do. James Gunn says a lot of stuff, and then it doesn't do it, you know? So, I mean, like, I wouldn't necessarily take everything at totally face value. I mean, you're talking about a guy who has his tweet set to auto-delete. So, I mean, you can't hold him to anything. Jordan says, I'm actually excited for Batman Brave and the Bold, but I pray they cast correctly for Batman and Robin. Yeah, casting is crucial here. I mean, casting and talent, writers and directors will really change how I think a lot of us feel about this stuff, pro and con. You know, I mean, that can really make a difference. Eden, I have to tell you, I don't think that so far James Gunn's that great at casting. I think that occasionally he casts really well, but I don't think he's a great caster. I think it's difficult to cast, period, these days. Even Marvel is struggling because there's not a lot of talent available because they've used it all already. It's very hard to cast. Eden says, are the Sandman and Sweet Tooth safe on Netflix? Totally. Definitely, Eden. I think they're just so far afield of this. It's like they're just DC as in they were once DC Comics. It Will Be Okay says, wow, Henry must be livid. Yeah, I think he's probably, again, I'm telling you, Henry Cavill's probably like, I should have showed up for that cameo on Peacemaker. You know, I mean, Henry Cavill is a bit of a kiss-up, and he certainly kissed up to Warner Brothers executives, but he should have kissed up to James Gunn. You know, anybody who kissed up to James Gunn survived, except for Zachary Levi, but he was friends with Peter Safran. And apparently Peter Safran can't save his friends. That's so hilarious. Peter Safran can't even save his own friends. It's only Gunn's friends. Jay
Show friends, not show
says,
business.
your display of emotion towards such a beautiful representation of a love story told through my community in The Last of Us really touched my heart. Oh, my pleasure. That was a beautiful, beautiful episode. I think everyone should relate to it. It was just love. They just showed love. Ryan Johnson said, excited for the new Supergirl. Marvel waited too long and has shafted its women-led projects for too long. The comic the Supergirl movie is based on is one of my favorites. I agree, Ryan. If they can pull that off, it could be really special. It would be incredible if they pulled that off. Ryan Hanton says, this is all crap. Even if some of it's good, it'll still be connected to crap. If we make the Superman movie make no money, will they change course? No. I think that this is it until maybe Warner Brothers Discovery sells Warner Brothers. If Zazie can unload DC, then you might see a reboot. But they're going to do most of this, I think. I think they're going to do most of this. Because, I mean, how many times can they reboot? Lucas says, DC's problem for years is that they are trying to catch up to Marvel without putting in the work to develop the universe from scratch. I would agree with that. I would agree. I think that this is all over the place. I think you don't see them building anything. I think that it would have been better just to do Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern, and that's it. I wouldn't have done the Waller stuff because it's the Gunverse basically, and I probably wouldn't have done Supergirl. I think it's too early for Supergirl. I just would have focused on reestablishing the Trinity, and I think I maybe would have gone from there. That would be kind of interesting. Superman Legacy, Batman and Robin, and then Wonder Woman with the TV series, and then she ends the season going to Man's World, and maybe Batman and Superman show up. That could be like your phase 1, quite frankly. But, you know, they're investors now. Kirsten Dunst fan. I don't think that James Gunn is related to Anna Gunn, but I mean, I can't vouch for that 100%. Thanks, Greg Lazaro. Anthony Garcia says, as MJ said, expect disappointment and you will never be disappointed. I think that's true. Swamp Thing says, I love that the production value of your stream is way better than the official DC announcement. Thank you, Swamp Thing. Thank you very much. And I'm just a single person. Imagine if I had the resources of Warner Brothers Discovery, which apparently are not that much. I'd be like, can you at least send me an IT person to like, that wasn't even done live. They had 12 hours to edit that video, and that's what they came up with. And he's just in front of a red curtain. They didn't even put him on a sound stage. I would have put him on a sound stage and have him walk out from behind a curtain and go, hello, I'm James Gunn. That would have been so great. Oh, I would have loved that so much. All right, but he didn't do it. All right, he needs someone to produce these things for him. What the hell, Peter Safran? What are you doing? Let's see here. I got to catch up to the comments here. Chris Charters, welcome back. Did I miss anything here? Let me go back to where I was so I don't miss anything. Hold on. Ooh, can't go back any further. All right, so that's the furthest I can go back. Chase says, I'm optimistic of this new universe. I think we should keep in mind that Gunn didn't release every project. My only con is starting with Damian. What do you mean he didn't release every project? I don't understand that. But yeah, as we did in the poll, 80% of you are not like definitive. You don't have a definitive opinion. You're open to having your mind changed, and that's pretty good. I think that's the way this works. I think that because it's all over the place, I think there's something for everyone, but not everybody loves everything. And so that divides your audience. Josh says, this seems like the same stuff we were getting from Hamada. It doesn't seem like there's a good roadmap, or at least they don't make it clear. Yeah, I would agree. It's exactly. You have exactly Hamada and Snyder. It's just now Safran and Gunn. It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. It's going to have the same result. Some of this stuff will hit. Some of this stuff will miss. Let's see here. Brother Quantum says, safe to say that no reboot means no reboot. Safe to say that no reboot means no reboot ever. Yeah, they're not going to totally reboot. I think that Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller will stick around. Paul Brunel says, could Gunn end the Reeves-verse if it outperforms? Well, Warner Brothers wouldn't let him because the Reeves-verse would be making so much money. JC says, not rebooting feels like DC feels like Phase 5 of Marvel because I can't see how this all connects. It doesn't connect, JC. I mean, it's loosely connected. They're all in the same world, so they could connect, but it's not actually connected. And so that's what they've decided to do. There's no plan, which is the same problem that Marvel's been having. Denzel O'Neill says, choosing Damian just because it's his favorite is already alarming to me. Damian makes no sense if Batman hasn't raised all the other Robins and isn't older. I would agree. So they'll probably go, but they can't go with that much older a Batman because how is he going to fit with the new Superman and Wonder Woman? So I guess he's going to have to be a young dad. James Offer says, been a long time fan. Thank you, but I just wanted to applaud you on your willingness to explore new genres like you did in learning so much about video games. Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you. That was very kind, James. And then W says, do you see $1 billion movie in here? Or ratings on the TV show like Game of Thrones? I don't see $1 billion movie here, to be honest with you. I don't see a flop necessarily. I think the Batman 2, the Elseworlds Batman could maybe make $1 billion. But I see things in the 600 to 800 million range. I don't see necessarily any flops. So that's good, except for Booster Gold and Swamp Thing and Authority. I think those side projects, I don't think they seem particularly strong to me. Blick says, Nightwing is becoming such a crucial thing in the comics, such a lost opportunity for the movies. Yeah, it boggles my mind that you wouldn't start with a really good child Dick Grayson story. Ice Rhino says, Fandango tweeted there will be a Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman project outside of the DCU. They're still doing that? That's nuts. So what is that? Potentially 3 Supermen because Robert Pattinson needs a Superman? Maybe he's Robert Pattinson's Superman. It's ridiculous. Mandy says, a good movie is a good movie, but I'm counting on you to provide the big picture expertise on this universe. Oh, thank you, Mandy. I do agree that a good movie is a good movie. I don't think this plan will get to Marvel's level of success. That's it in a nutshell, Mandy. There will be hits here, but they will not have an ongoing cinematic universe where people feel they need to see everything. Cody says, could Blue Beetle and Booster Gold connect? For sure, for sure. Let's see who the cameos are. Are they going to turn Booster Gold into their Deadpool? Now that, oh my goodness, you just blew my mind. I bet you that's what they're thinking. Instead of making Harley Quinn their Deadpool, they're going to make Booster Gold their Deadpool. And I don't like that either. But that's exactly, I'm sure, what the pitch was. That's fascinating to me. Yes, thank you so many people joining in the live. I think that's, it's a real party in here, guys. Stephen Bells, do you think Nubia will appear on the Wonder Woman show? I think she will. I hope that Philippus is really done well. I hope that that's for sure done. JSR, hey JSR11, thanks for joining. James says, hi Grace, I thank you so much for a comprehensive review of The Last of Us Season 3. Oh, I'm so glad that so many of you are bringing up my coverage of that. It was one of my favorite breakdowns I've ever done because I loved how sophisticated the episode was. We could not only talk about it from like a mythology fan perspective, but for The Last of Us, just on a side note, we were able to talk about the writing and the directing and how well structured it was as a screenplay, and that was really exciting. Bumbler says, do you think that maybe the Gods and Monsters title might make more sense with the second unrevealed half of the... How is there more to this phase? How many projects is this? I mean, I'm not upset with you, Bumbler, but we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 projects. This is phase 1. There couldn't possibly be any more in this phase. That's 10 projects. That's nuts to me. If Diana isn't in the Wonder Woman show, if that is true, Middle Kid 23, they shouldn't even bother making it. Christian says, my niece Emma says hi. Oh, hi, Emma. She wants to become a reporter journalist someday. Oh, it's Mom. I'm so happy to be that. So it makes me feel so nice. Hi, Emma. Let's see here. Cameron Ross says, the Paradise Show takes place before Diana's birth. I think that's a really bad idea. I guess it's going to end with, or making like a little Diana out of clay. Nobody wants to watch a Wonder Woman series without Wonder Woman on it. I would have immediately said no. But is anyone saying no to James Gunn? I don't think Zazie reads comics. Do you think on Wednesday Zazzy's like, what came out today? I think Zazzy's like, I hired a comic book expert. And I'm like, did you? That's what I would say. I gotta tell you, sometimes being just a fan sometimes is even just a bad thing. You need to be an executive first. Thank you for all these comments. I want to make sure I don't miss any. That's right, Jay. Kevin Feige is the luckiest man in Hollywood. But he's not just luck. He made his own luck. Thank you, UCF810. Let's see here. Okay. I believe so that's as far back as I can go. Nacho Flores says, I hate that he's doing his quirky characters first and then the core characters, afraid of a Chris Pratt, Will Poulter level casting on all of these. That would be nervous. I would be nervous about that for sure. And then, let's see here. Sam Schugert says, this is a big loss to me. Starting with Damien, are you kidding me? Keeping Amanda Waller? I've seen every DC movie, even the ones I had no interest in, but I'm not paying for Creature Commandos. Yeah, that's a tough sell. For sure. Let me see here. And then the Prodigal Fraudson says, I disagree. All these movies are backed by strong comic storylines. Oh, it's good to get a dissenting opinion. Also, Damian Wayne means Dick Grayson is already existing and Todd is killed by Joker.
I'm
they all exist in that story. But can you do that in a single movie? I mean, isn't that a series then? And then how is that different?
See y'all next time. Peace.